Marcus Reed wasn't supposed to walk into a BMW dealership looking like that. Not according to them. He stepped inside quietly, pushing open the glass doors like a man with no particular destination. His hoodie was plain. His sneakers were old. His hands were in his pockets. To anyone watching, and everyone was watching, he looked like a man who wandered into the wrong building. But Marcus wasn't lost. He was very, very intentional. The moment he entered, the room shifted. The music playing from the overhead speakers suddenly felt awkward. The sales staff paused mid-conversation. The receptionist stopped typing. 3 salesmen at the coffee machine exchanged looks, eyebrows raised, lips curled, the kind of smirk that said everything without a word. Marcus had seen those looks before, many times, but today he wasn't here to ignore them. He walked deeper into the showroom, slowing in front of the BMW M5 competition, a monster of a machine in Brooklyn gray, engine still clicking from its last test drive. Its paint reflected the ceiling lights like glass. Marcus ran his hand lightly across the side mirror. That was enough to trigger him. "Sir." A sharp voice cut through the air. "Please don't touch the vehicles." Marcus turned. A salesman, early 30s, tall, hair slicked back, suit too shiny to be expensive, strutted toward him with the confidence of a man who had never been challenged in his own territory. "Yes?" Marcus asked. The salesman gave him a full, slow scan. Hoodie, sneakers, skin. His expression soured. "This is a 6-figure vehicle." The salesman said, "It's not for casual browsing." Marcus nodded once. "I'd like a test drive." The salesman blinked, stunned. Then he scoffed. "A test drive?" He repeated, "For you." The room went quiet. Another salesman chuckled behind a desk. The receptionist looked away, uncomfortable. Marcus held eye contact, calm, patient, silent. "I'm asking politely." Marcus said, "Can I test drive it?" The salesman put one hand on his hip. "Sir, this car is for serious buyers only." "I'm serious." "That's adorable," the salesman said, laughing. "Look, we usually don't let people drive cars they can't afford. You don't think I can afford it?" The salesman shrugged with exaggerated politeness. "It's not about thinking, it's about being realistic." He gestured at Marcus's outfit. "These cars cost more than some houses, and you walked in here looking like you came from a bus stop." Another salesman whispered loudly. Maybe he thought BMW meant bus, metro, walk. Laughter popped from the corner. Marcus didn't flinch, not even a blink. He just looked at the M5 again, admiring its engineering, the precision in the curves, all details he personally approved when the model was finalized. But they didn't know that. The salesman folded his arms. "If you want something within reach, we have a used Corolla down the street. Much more appropriate." That was the moment the receptionist, a young black woman named Tiana, visibly winced. She glanced at Marcus with an apologetic look she tried to hide. Marcus stepped around the salesman and walked deeper into the showroom, toward the BMW XM. A beast. A spaceship on wheels. The kind of SUV that made people nervous to even breathe near it. An older salesman intercepted him instantly. "Sir, that vehicle is extremely delicate." The older man said, "Maybe step back a bit. The detailing team just spent hours on it." Marcus moved his hands behind his back. "I'm only looking. We prefer customers don't get too close." The man insisted, subtly blocking him with his shoulder. Marcus inhaled slowly. The disrespect was no longer a spark, it was a steady flame. "All right," Marcus said. "Can I speak to a manager?" The older man smirked at the younger salesman. "A manager for what?" The younger one chimed in, "To approve a test drive." "Sir, you don't need a manager, you need a different dealership." "Well," Marcus said calmly, "I'd still like to speak to one. Managers have better things to do." The older salesman said bluntly, and to be frank, he looked Marcus dead in the eyes. BMW is not for everyone. The room froze. Even the music felt quieter. Marcus stared at the man for a long moment, the silence heavy and thick. Then he spoke, voice smooth as polished steel. "Is that a company policy?" Marcus asked. The older man laughed nervously. It's an observation." The younger salesman leaned in. "Look, man, your shoes alone tell me you're wasting our time." Marcus's eyes flicked downward. Beat-up sneakers, a choice, a test. I see, Marcus murmured. He turned toward the receptionist. As he approached, she straightened her posture, nervous but trying to look professional. Are you okay? Marcus asked her softly. She stuttered. I'm fine, sir. You don't look fine. She glanced at the salesmen who were now whispering and watching her carefully. It's complicated. Marcus nodded. It won't be for long. Before she could respond, the younger salesman rushed toward them again. Sir, he snapped. I'm going to have to ask you to stop bothering the staff. Marcus turned, expression finally shifting not anger, but disappointment. Bothering. Marcus repeated. I asked for a test drive. And I told you already. The salesman raised his voice. That BMW aren't for people who walk in off the street. Marcus stepped closer. His voice dropped low. What if I told you, he said, that I'm here for more than a car? The salesman rolled his eyes. And what? You're here to buy the whole dealership. He laughed loudly. Come on, man, don't embarrass yourself. Marcus's expression didn't change. He simply said the line that would haunt the salesman for years. I own this place. Silence. A slow, suffocating silence swallowed the room. The receptionist gasped. The older salesman blinked rapidly, confusion turning to fear. But the younger salesman, too arrogant, too blind, laughed again. Yeah, okay, he said. And I'm the CEO of BMW. The glass doors slid open. A man in a blue suit practically sprinted inside, out of breath, face red, tie crooked. Mr. Reed, he gasped. Sir, I didn't expect you. We weren't told, no one informed me. The young salesman's smile dropped. The older salesman paled. The receptionist covered her mouth. Marcus turned slowly. Hello, Daniel. Marcus said. The manager swallowed hard. Sir, you said you might visit unannounced, but I didn't think. Marcus raised an eyebrow. And now you see why. The room held its breath. The manager turned toward the staff, trembling. Everyone, listen carefully. This is Mr. Marcus Reed, founder of Raid Automotive Group, the man who owns every dealership under our umbrella. The sound that followed was indescribable, a mix of choked breaths, stammering, and pure fear. The older salesman nearly stumbled backward. The younger salesman went dead still, eyes wide as if trying to disappear into the air itself. Marcus walked toward him slowly. The salesman whispered, voice cracking, Sir, I didn't know. Marcus leaned in, speaking quietly enough for the room to fall silent, listening. That's exactly why you failed, Marcus said. Because you only respect people when you know who they are. The salesman's throat tightened. Please, I didn't mean. But Marcus was already walking away. Daniel, Marcus said to the manager, your office, now. Yes, sir, right away. The manager hurried to lead the way. As Marcus passed the staff, none of them dared to breathe. Their futures hung in the air like a blade waiting to drop. The receptionist whispered, voice shaking, thank you, sir. Marcus gave her a soft nod. Then he stepped into the manager's office. The door closed behind him with a heavy click. Outside, the terrified staff stood frozen. They didn't know yet, but by the time that door opened again, the door to the manager's office shut behind Marcus with a slow, weighted click that felt like a sentence being sealed. Inside, the air was different, tense, squeezed, almost trembling. The office was neat, too neat, like everything had been cleaned for someone important. Except no one expected the owner to walk in unannounced. Manager Daniel stood near his desk, hands clasped tightly, face pale enough to match the white walls. Sir, Daniel said, voice shaking, I sincerely apologize for what you just experienced. This is not how we operate. Marcus held up one finger. Daniel fell silent instantly. Sit, Marcus said calmly. Daniel obeyed so fast the chair nearly slid back. But Marcus didn't sit. He walked slowly around the office, hands behind his back, taking in every detail, the framed certificates, the team photos, the awards, the shelves of neatly stacked brochures. All symbols of a dealership that bragged about customer satisfaction. Marcus stopped in front of a framed photo of the staff smiling, arms crossed, proud. There, in the center, was Tyler, the salesman who had mocked him the most. Marcus stared at the picture for a long, heavy moment. "Tell me something, Daniel," he said finally. "Yes, sir. How long have you been manager here?" 3 years, sir. "And in those 3 years, how many discrimination complaints have you received?" Daniel swallowed. "Sir, I would have to check the system to give you an exact ballpark." Daniel hesitated, around 7 or 8. Marcus turned and looked him dead in the eyes. "Try 23. Daniel's jaw tensed, chest rising and falling quicker. "I've read everyone," Marcus continued. Customers of color being ignored, mocked, watched suspiciously, denied test drives, spoken to with disrespect. "Sir, Daniel stammered. "I addressed each complaint personally." "No," Marcus said. "You explained them away." Daniel's mouth opened, but no words came out. Marcus paced slowly behind the desk. "Do you know why I came today?" Marcus asked. "No, sir." "I wanted to see," Marcus said softly, "if the problem was the building or the people in it." Daniel lowered his eyes. "Sir, if I'd known you were coming," Marcus cut him off sharply. "That's exactly the issue. You would have behaved differently if you knew. But your staff, they showed me exactly who they are." Daniel looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. A knock hit the door. "Not now," Daniel snapped shakily, but the knock came again, timid, hesitant, almost apologetic. Marcus opened the door himself. Tiana, the receptionist, stood outside, clutching a folder, eyes full of worry. "Yes?" Marcus asked gently. She flinched slightly. No one had ever spoken softly to her at this job. "Sir, I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt." Her voice was fragile. "But I thought you should see this." She handed him the folder. Inside were printed customer reviews, the real ones, not the filtered ones posted online. Marcus flipped through them, page after page. "For minorities, this dealership is a nightmare. They refused to show me anything unless I looked rich enough. They asked if I could really afford to test, drive something. Felt judged the moment I walked in. Not a few, not 10, dozens." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Tiana," he said, "have you been treated this way?" Her lips trembled. She looked at the manager nervously. Daniel quickly said, "She hasn't complained." "So Marcus lifted a hand again. Silence returned instantly. "Tiana," Marcus repeated softly. She took a shaky breath. "They don't listen to me," she whispered. "They call me front desk girl, not my name. They blame me for things I didn't do. They tell me to smile more when customers come in." Marcus's eyes softened. "Who told you that?" She hesitated, then pointed at the door. "The older salesman," she said, "and Tyler, the two who had treated Marcus the worst." Marcus nodded slowly. "You can go," he said. She left quickly, relief and fear tangled in every step. Silence fell again. Daniel stood stiff, sweating. "Sir," Daniel said in a tiny voice, "if I may, you may not." Marcus replied calmly. He walked to the large office window overlooking the showroom. From here, he could see everything. The staff whispering nervously, Tyler pacing, wiping his hands on his pants, the older salesman frozen like a statue, the entire dealership holding its breath. Marcus stared at them, and the disappointment in his eyes grew deeper. Finally, he turned back to Daniel. "Bring them in," Marcus said. Daniel paled. All of them, sir. All the sales staff who were on the floor." Daniel nodded shakily and rushed out. Marcus stood alone in the office, looking out the window, thinking about everything he had built, not just businesses, but bridges, opportunities, safe spaces for customers who had been disrespected elsewhere. He built this empire so that people who looked like him could walk into any dealership under his name and feel welcome. And instead, this location turned his vision into a mockery. A soft knock came to the door. Daniel returned, pale, sweating, heartbeat visible in his neck, with the entire sales staff trailing behind him. Tyler in front, the older salesman behind him, 2 others lingering nervously. They stepped inside. Crowded the room, no one dared to breathe too loudly. Tyler tried a half-smile that looked more like a grimace. "Mr. Reed, sir, I just want to say..." Marcus didn't even look at him, close the door. Tyler did. The click echoed like a final judgment. Marcus stepped forward until he stood in the exact center of the office. His voice was calm, steady, controlled. "Every one of you," he said, "treated a customer with disrespect today." Tyler swallowed loudly. "Sir, stop talking." Tyler shut up instantly. Marcus looked at each face slowly, letting the weight sink in. "I walked in wearing regular clothes," Marcus continued, "and instead of greeting me, instead of offering help, instead of being professionals, you judged me." No one moved. "You made assumptions about who I was, about what I could afford, about where I belonged." The older salesman's lips trembled, and when I asked for a test drive, Marcus said, I was mocked, laughed at, spoken to like trash. Tyler's eyes dropped. "You saw a hoodie," Marcus said. "You saw sneakers. You saw skin." He paused. "And you saw someone you thought you could disrespect without consequences." The room warmed with shame. Marcus stepped closer to Tyler. "And then," Marcus repeated quietly, "you said, test drive for you." Tyler winced visibly, face crumpling. "And when I told you who I was," Marcus said, "you apologized because of my title, not because you were wrong." Tyler whispered, "Sir, please, Marcus turned to the manager. "Daniel?" "Yes, sir." Daniel's voice shook. Marcus pointed at the door. "Open it." Daniel obeyed quickly. Marcus stepped aside, making a clear path to the exit. "You," he said, looking directly at Tyler first. Tyler froze. "Sir, please, I made a mistake. I didn't know. That's the problem." Marcus said again, "You only respect people when they look rich or important." Tyler's face fell apart. "Get out," Marcus said quietly. Tyler's voice cracked. "My job, my family, get out." Tyler's breath hitched. He stepped out of the office, face broken, and the door shut behind him with a dull thud. Then Marcus looked at the older salesman. "You told me BMW isn't for everyone," Marcus said. The man's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean I wasn't. Get out." The man nearly collapsed walking out. Each salesman who laughed was dismissed next. One by one, no yelling, no theatrics, just consequences. The room emptied until only two people remained, Daniel, the manager, and Marcus. Daniel's legs shook. "Sir," he whispered, "I swear, I did my best." Marcus faced him. "I trusted you," Marcus said. "You were supposed to lead this team. You allowed this environment to grow." Daniel's eyes filled. "Please, this job, it's everything to me." Marcus inhaled slowly. "I'm not firing you today," he said. Daniel collapsed into his chair, exhaling a heavy breath of relief. "But," Marcus continued, "I'm putting you on a 30-day corrective probation. If I see anything like this again, your job is gone." Daniel nodded rapidly. "Yes, sir, absolutely. I won't fail you again." Marcus walked to the door, stopped, turned, and hire more people like Tiana. Marcus said, "People who know how to treat customers with dignity." "Yes, sir," Daniel said quickly. Marcus left the office. The staff watched him with a mix of fear and awe as he walked across the showroom. He stopped by the receptionist's desk. Tiana stood, nervous. "You're safe," Marcus said, "and you deserve better." She nodded, eyes emotional. "Thank you, Mr. Reed." And, Marcus added with a small smile, "You're getting a raise." Her hands flew to her mouth. Tears welled. Marcus walked toward the exit. The remaining staff stood silent. Why? Died, shaken to their core. As he reached the door, Marcus paused, turned once more, and delivered the words that spread through the dealership like wildfire. "Let this be a reminder," he said. "You never know who's walking through your doors. Treat everyone with respect." Then he left. By the time the door closed behind him, the dealership had changed forever. Marcus walked through the BMW showroom like a man who had walked it 1,000 times before. His footsteps were calm, steady, unhurried. But every employee in the building could feel the air shift as he passed. Something about him felt different now, heavier, colder, intentional. The general manager, Cliff, hurried behind him, practically tripping over his own shoes as he tried to keep up. "Mr. Lane, if you'll allow me." Marcus didn't stop. "Where's your sales team?" "In the front office," Cliff stammered. "But sir, you really don't have to lead the way," Marcus said. Cliff swallowed hard and obeyed. They entered a glass-walled office where 3 employees stood, and the moment they saw Marcus, confusion washed over their faces. The salesman who disrespected him earlier, Trevor, leaned against a desk. His confidence evaporated the moment he realized Marcus was not just a customer, he was walking beside the GM. Trevor straightened instantly. "Oh, sir, welcome back. Are you here for the test drive?" Marcus didn't answer. He simply studied Trevor like he was looking straight through him. Cliff cleared his throat. "Everyone, listen up. Mr. Lane is—" Marcus raised a hand, stopping him. "I'll say it myself." He stepped forward, eyes locked on Trevor. "You looked me dead in the face and said, 'Test drive, for you.'" Trevor froze, his cheeks flushing red. "Sir, I didn't mean. And then you said I couldn't afford a BMW. I thought I assumed that," Marcus said quietly, "is your problem. You assumed." The room went silent. Even the hum of the AC felt louder than anyone's breathing. Marcus shifted his gaze to the others. What happens in this dealership when a man walks in wearing work clothes? What happens when he looks different from the image you built in your head? No one spoke. Marcus continued, "This wasn't about policy. It wasn't about safety. It wasn't about procedure. It was about the way you spoke to me, the way you dismissed me, the way you laughed." Trevor looked like he wanted to disappear. "And just to be clear," Marcus said, his tone razor sharp, "I own this place." Trevor's mouth fell open, the others gasped softly. Cliff stepped in quickly, hands clasped nervously. "Mr. Lane, just so we're clear, none of us knew. They didn't know who you were, that's the point." Marcus said without looking at him, "They shouldn't have to know someone's name to treat them like a human being." He turned slowly back to the sales team. "Do you know what I look for when I choose who represents my dealership?" Marcus asked. "Not perfect credit, not perfect clothes, not perfect English, not perfect anything." He paused. "Just respect." Trevor swallowed. "Sir, please, if you give me one more chance." "You had your chance," Marcus said softly. "And you used it to laugh in my face." Trevor's knees buckled slightly. Marcus faced the GM. "Cliff." Cliff straightened instantly. "Yes, sir. I want every person who participated in that conversation removed from the roster. Today." Trevor's breath hitched. "Sir, please, I have a family." "So do the customers you insult," Marcus replied. One of the other salesmen stepped forward. "Mr. Lane, I swear I didn't laugh. I just stood there." "And that," Marcus said, "was your mistake." Silence is agreement. Cliff nodded slowly, already understanding the order. "Understood, sir." Trevor's face went pale. The weight of everything he had thrown at a stranger now coming back like a hammer finally broke him. He dropped his eyes to the floor. "Please," Trevor whispered, "just one more chance." Marcus shook his head. "If this is how you treat someone you think has nothing, then this isn't the place for you." Cliff gestured gently to the door. Trevor hesitated, then shuffled out, shoulders bent, pride shattered, eyes burning with the realization he had messed up something far bigger than a sale. 2 more employees followed. The office fell silent. Marcus exhaled quietly, letting the tension drain from his shoulders. He wasn't angry anymore, just disappointed and done tolerating disrespect in a place that carried his family's name. He looked at Cliff. "I want new hires this week," Marcus said. "People who don't judge customers by their shoes, their voice, their color, their clothes." Cliff nodded again, gripping a clipboard. "Absolutely, sir." And Cliff, "Yes, you're on probation." Cliff flinched. I understand." Marcus walked out of the office, heading toward the showroom floor. The young janitor from earlier, the only person who had actually treated him with kindness, was still mopping quietly near the entrance. He saw Marcus and smiled. "Back again, sir." Marcus smiled softly. "Yeah, I had something to finish." The kid laughed lightly. "Bet they're treating you different now." Marcus glanced behind him, where Cliff hovered nervously. "Just a bit." The kid leaned in. "So, did you buy the car?" Marcus stepped closer and whispered, "No." The kid blinked. "You didn't." Marcus clicked the remote in his hand, and outside, the brand, new BMW i7, lit up, headlights sweeping across the glass like a spotlight. "I brought my own." The janitor burst out laughing. "Man, I knew it." Marcus offered him a handshake. "What's your name?" J. Carter. "You ever thought about working sales, Jay?" Jay's eyebrows shot up. "Sales, me? No, I mean. No one here's ever. They didn't see your potential." Marcus said, "But I did, and I need people like you." Jay stood frozen, stunned. "You serious?" he whispered. Marcus nodded. "Come by tomorrow morning, we'll talk." Jay's eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, sir, for real." Marcus smiled, then walked toward the exit at the dealership, feeling lighter than when he entered. As he reached the door, he glanced back one last time. The sign outside glowed brilliantly against the night sky. Lane BMW, his family's legacy, his standard, his rules, and tonight, he had reminded everyone why his name didn't just sit on the building, it meant something. He stepped outside, the cool air brushing against his face, and the roar of his luxury BMW filled the air as he opened the door. Justice delivered, respect restored, legacy protected. He slid into the driver's seat, closed the door gently, and whispered to himself, "Never underestimate anyone." Then he drove off into the night, calm, proud, and wholly unbothered.